Last night, we showed you dozens of pictures of missing black girls, the names and photos of our children, the cases that don't always get the attention they deserve. Tonight, we want to dive deeper and talk about why so many young black girls and women go missing, the disparities in the handling of their cases, and an organization working hard to make a difference. My next guest is both very involved in that mission. Natalie Wilson is a co-founder of the Black and Missing Foundation, a group she started after seeing cases not get the attention they desperately needed. Hey, is Natalie here? Hey, there she goes.
Yes.
Hey, Natalie.
Can you hear me? Hi there.
How are you? Thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so Natalie, tell me about these racial disparities and why you started your organization, the Black and Missing Foundation. Tell us more about the work that you guys are doing and the cases that you've been inspired by.
Oh, absolutely. So since May 24th, 2008, we have been sounding the alarm about another pandemic that is affecting our community, and that is missing persons of color. And the organization was inspired by Tamika Houston, who went missing from my sister-in-law's hometown of Spartanburg, South Carolina. And we read how her family struggled to get any type of national media coverage. And Natalie Holloway disappeared a year later, and her name dominated the news. So Derica and I decided to do some research to see if this was an issue affecting our community. And we found that 30% of all persons missing are of color. And we didn't know that. It was quite a shock to us. So we said, why not us? I am in media relations and Derica is in law enforcement. And those are the two critical professions needed to help us find us. And that number has since grown to 40% of all persons missing are of color. And the motivation why we keep going are the hundreds of thousands of families who have a loved one reported missing, and they're not getting help from law enforcement. They're definitely not getting the media coverage. Like Sean and his family, they're searching for their missing daughter, Akia. So it's definitely, the families, they're desperate. They don't know where to turn. And we're here as advocates to help them navigate through the process.
Now, you've helped families get national attention for their cases, but that's not always easy. Why is it often so much harder for Black and brown families?
Well, oftentimes what we're finding is that law enforcement classifies our missing children as a runaway. And if you're classified as a runaway, you do not receive the Amber Alert or any type of media coverage. Also, we are noticing that many of our missing individuals are deemed to be or stereotyped as being involved with some type of criminal activity, or they're in poverty, they're impoverished. So the media outlets or the gatekeepers, they don't care. And we have to change the narrative because these are our missing mothers, fathers, our children, our grandparents, and they are important to us and our communities. So we have to change the narrative around it. These individuals are not necessarily involved with some type of criminal activity.
Well, there are a lot of reasons why people go missing. Some are victims of crimes or domestic violence. Others leave on their own. Tell us about the Relisha and Licaria Riley cases, please.
So Relisha Rudd has been missing or was last seen in Washington, D.C. on March the 1st, 2014. And Relisha and her family lived at a shelter in D.C. And she was last seen with the janitor of the shelter, and he was found deceased, and Relisha remains missing. And there were so many systemic issues surrounding Relisha's disappearance. No one was keeping up with her, not her family, not DCPS, meaning the school system, and not CFSA or Child and Family Services. Licaria Riley, she is missing since April the 20th from Detroit, Michigan. She's 14 years old. She was last seen at home. And we believe she's a victim of sex trafficking. She was last seen with a 42-year-old man.
Wow. Wow. So how does your mission change depending on the circumstance?
So our mission remains the same: to find these missing individuals or to provide answers or closures for their families. And that's the most heart-wrenching part of what we do, is helping these families get the answers that they deserve. They just want to know, where is my loved one? Are they being mistreated?
Hmm.
Are they being fed? What is happening to them? Can you imagine not knowing where your child is or your parent because they have dementia? There's so many unknowns, but our mission remains the same, which is to help us find us, because we know that there's disparity in media coverage. We know that there's disparity in the way our cases are handled, and we are advocates for
Hmm.
these families.
So the pandemic has been pretty challenging for many, especially our community. Has it led to more missing girls and young women, or made it more challenging for your organization to help?
Well, yes to both parts of your question. One, we have seen an uptick in the number of children that have disappeared, and we believe that they're victims of sex trafficking because our children are spending more time online, and these predators are accessing them online. And with, the recent elections, the pandemic, we are not receiving the same number of coverage. I mean, it was a fight before, but it's definitely a fight even more to get the slightest bit of coverage for our missing. And as you're walking about, everyone is wearing a mask. So you don't know who's behind the mask. So you can't tell, you can't identify someone. And, that's the most
Hmm.
difficult of helping to find these missing individuals.
So for our viewers who are watching, for our communities, how can they help us find us?
So, well, a couple of things. We know that there's a sense of distrust between the minority community and law enforcement. And if anyone has any information, please contact the Black and Missing Foundation at bamfi.org. You can submit a tip anonymously to help find that missing individual. And also, we have social media platforms: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and we share alerts every single day, multiple times a day. And we ask our community to please get involved and share those profiles, because someone knows something.
Really quickly, Natalie, if a loved one goes missing, what do you suggest the family do immediately?
So the first thing, and we require this as well, is for them to contact law enforcement and file a missing persons report. They can then contact the Black and Missing, and we will help them navigate the process by creating a missing persons flyer for them. And we ask them to share this information within their network, as well as within the community where the person was seen. Because again, we have to get this information out instantaneously, and someone knows something.
Well, this is an effort we're definitely going to be continuing to draw attention to here on Making the Case. Natalie Wilson, thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Thank you for having me.